George here, welcome back to the channel. So as you can see, the 20 gallons that normally occupy this space have been removed. I finally got those out of here, and the 75 gallon is in place. Took a lot of work to get this in here. This was a very tight fit. As you know, this is a custom build for me, so we used every inch of this space here. And I don't want to make this a long video. This is basically a video to introduce you to the tank and to give you some ideas of what to expect over the next couple of weeks as we do a 3-part series on this scape. Now, what I would like to talk about first of all is the tank itself. As I said, it's a 75 gallon. It is low profile. We're talking about 14.5 inches on the height. It might be 14 3/4. I'm not really quite sure on that. Also, as far as the depth goes on this, we're looking at 18 inches, just a little bit over 18. And as I said, this is 75 gallons. Now, what I want to do with this tank is something completely different than I have done in the past. Real excited about this build. I want to do something that is kind of a departure from what I have been doing over the last couple of years. Now, it was hard for me to get rid of those 20 gallons that were here. Now, I don't want you to think that when I say get rid of them that they're actually completely gone. Now, the one that was on this side over here, I did take that one down completely, and the German blue ram cichlids that I had over here, I was actually getting some spawns on that, and that tank is over here. And the next time we do a gallery update or tour, I will give you an opportunity to see that tank again. So let's talk about some of the things that we're working with here. Now, I was sent, I cannot say the name of this external canister to save my life. It's seachem is how I've been told to say it, but I'm not sure that that's correct on that. If anybody knows the proper way to say that, let me know. And this is the whale external filter. It's the model 200, and this will not be my primary filtration on this. We do have pumps in the back and these chambers back here, and we will be using that for the primary filtration. Now, I never, well, I can't say never, but very seldom do I use the pumps that come with the tank. Typically, I will replace those with something much quieter and more efficient, and typically that is an aquatop pump that I find to be a good quality pump that I really enjoy. So we will do an unboxing on this one here. That will be a separate video, and we'll kind of talk about this as I'm using it to give you an idea as to whether or not I think this is a good quality canister filter. I've heard nothing but good things about it, so I'm pretty darn excited about it. Now, as you can see here, we're going to be using spiderwood. This is not the actual piece of spiderwood that we're using. This is much too small for this situation, but I just wanted to show you. I like spiderwood because it's spindly. It gives you a lot of opportunities to work with it in different situations, different rock formations, and so forth. So I really like spiderwood a lot. So we'll be using that. I'm right now getting some spiderwood seasoned and ready, so we don't have that fungal, clear fungal jelly kind of stuff that grows on spiderwood, and we want to make sure that the wood's in good shape before we put it in the tank here. So we're going to be using spiderwood, and I'm going to have 2 different formations in here, and they're going to start at both ends of the tank. There'll be a formation of rock down at this end with some spiderwood going in this direction. And also on this end, same thing, rock formation here with spiderwood coming off here. Now, we want to try to get that rule of thirds in there, or the golden ratio in there. So it's important that we design it in that respect so that there is a nice flow to the tank. Now, something else that I haven't done before is use this particular sand that I'm going to be using here. This is a brown sand. The color is very, very unique, and I really like it a lot. I usually, as you know, if you watch my videos, I usually use white sand, and people say, how do you keep that so clean? Well, the bottom line is, if you have a good nitrogen cycle and you don't get that diatom algae growing in there, usually if you can get past that stage and not stock your tank heavily or overstock it, typically you can get past that without a lot of that going on the leaves or your sand or your rocks or other parts of your tank. Now, I like this color here simply because it's different, and it's so much like the color of that that algae that we don't like so much, that I think that you won't even see it if it does happen to grow on here a little bit. Now, as I said, I've had real good luck with not having that happen. Now, this is a product made, many of you probably know about this. It's called Supernaturals, and they also include with this a packet of chemicals that will keep the water from getting really cloudy. It really knocks that down. I have found that if you don't disturb the sand that much when you're filling your tank up, you can get away with not having a lot of dust and particles in your water as it is. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is rock. I'm really having a hard time deciding what I want to do here with rock. And as you can see, I have two different types of rock here. This one here is called maple stone. I've used this in my tanks before, and as you can see, it is a very rusty red color with a lot of veins that run through here, and it's a beautiful rock. The problem I have is it may be too much like the color of the sand here. Let me know in the comments down below if you think that's the case or not. But I really like this rock because it's very porous, and it tends to help with the beneficial bacteria, colonies growing, and only really adds to the health of the tank. So in that sense, I like it, but again, the color may not be exactly right. So the next piece of rock that I have here is Ceres stone, which a lot of people pass this off as Frodo stone. This is not Frodo stone. Do your homework if you're shopping for rock, and make sure that you know what you're getting. This is Ceres stone, and you can see there's some really cool characteristics to this that could make you think this is Frodo stone, and that's why I like it. But it's a lot cheaper, and it is very, each piece is really, really unique. So again, something I might use, but I'm not positive on this. I've used this so much, I just really would like to get away from this and do something very different. But I have not made up my mind as to what that's going to be yet, and we'll just have to see over the next few weeks what we decide here. And hopefully, if you want to leave your comments down below as to which one you think is the better of the two rocks, I'll be glad to hear from you. Now, I want to move this along because I don't want to make this a long video, but we have, as far as filtration goes, in the back here, we have two water socks, one here and one down on this end. We have the two pumps in this chamber here. As I said, I will probably replace them with something quieter and much more efficient. And then there is two chambers here and here, and those I will use for some kind of filter media, such as ceramic O-rings, or the bio balls, or a combination of both. I haven't decided yet, but we do need to figure out which one of those we're going to use, or like I said, maybe a combination of the two. And then of course sponges, plenty of sponges in here that grow media so well. I really have been staying away from any kind of charcoal or carbon in my tanks recently, just because if you have to medicate or you have something come up, it's not a pain in the rear end to get in there and get your carbon out. And because if you're using medications, anybody that is following along here and you don't know what I mean, if you have to medicate for some reason, you don't want charcoal or carbon in your tank, because basically that will just filter out the medications that you're using, and you're defeating the purpose. So I just stay away from it, because sponges have come a long ways and they are so much more efficient at building these beneficial bacteria colonies that we really need. And so that's kind of the way I've been going, and things have been doing really well with all of my tanks. I just haven't had any problems at all. Exciting news, I got up the other morning and one of my discus tanks downstairs, I have 7 or 8 panda quarries in there, and I found some baby panda quarries that were only out in the evening, and I'm still seeing them, so I know that they didn't get eaten. They've actually gotten big enough to where they wouldn't be something that probably would get eaten. There isn't anything in there but the discus, and the discus don't seem to bother them at all. So that's kind of exciting news, but I don't want to get off track here. So that's basically the setup that we're going to have. There will be a top on this. That is something that did not come with this, and I'm having that made right now, and it will be a permanent top over this here, and then a sliding top on here that goes from one end to the other, so you can just push it forward to do your feeding, to do your maintenance, or you can just remove them all together. So that's really it, guys, and I'm really excited about this build. It's something that I've been wanting to do for a long time. I do miss the 20s that were here. If you've been watching my videos since the beginning, they're kind of a fixture in my videos, so it's kind of weird not to have them any longer. But you know, change is good sometimes, and I'm real excited, like I said, to get this build underway. As I said, it's going to be a 3-part series. This one was basically part 1, where we're going to, like I said, we've been talking about the tank itself and what we're going to do with it. Now, I do have my cleanup crew already being quarantined. I've got some Julie quarries, and I've got some Siamese algae eaters. I've got a bristlenose pleco, and I also have some mystery snails. I'm staying away from the nitrite snails. Nitrite snails? I do that every once in a while. I don't know why, but anyways, neorite snails, I've been staying away from them simply because I don't really feel that they do real well in every situation, and you just never know. If anything's just out of whack a little bit, they don't survive very long. And then I've had people tell me that they've had them for 2 or 3 years, so I've done a whole video on that. I will leave that at the end of this one so that you can take a look at that. It's a very popular video with my followers, so you might want to take a look at that. But I'm going to be using mystery snails instead, and they don't leave those little eggs all over the place either, which are just awful to try to get off the wood in your tank. That's typically where they will lay those eggs, is on wood or rock. Their preference seems to be wood, you know, where it's nice and dark and you can just see them, and they're really hard to get off. You can get them off, but it's really difficult. So we'll stick with the mystery snails. Thank you so much for joining me today. Leave your comments down below if you have any ideas on what kind of fish should be in this tank. As I said, low profile, long run, lots of space here for these fish to move around unimpeded. And like I said, we're going to keep the scape simple. We're going to use a lot of low light plants that are just in the rocks and around the wood, maybe some mosses on the spiderwood and that sort of thing. Anubias, Java ferns, you know, plants like that. There's so many different varieties of Anubias out there. There's so many different varieties of fern that can be used in here. And I just want to keep it simple. The lights, like I said, I like to keep the low lights on most of my tanks. If you follow me, you know that. And we'll see what else we come up with here. We may find some floating plants or whatever that we like as well. But thank you again for joining me. Leave those comments down below as to whether or not you have some ideas on the kind of fish that I should have in here as my main showcase fish. I will probably have a school of tetras. I always do that. I always love having those in my tank because they're just a really nice look along with your main characters such as a discus or an angel or whatever. I was wanting to do an angel tank, but again, that's for another time. Angels that I'm trying to get are ultimate angels, and they certainly need a much bigger tank than this because of the height that they would get and that sort of thing. So long term, that's just not a good idea. Thank you for joining me. Like I said, leave your comments down below. Subscribe. I have so many people following me, and the subscriptions are coming up. I mean, the channel is really growing, but I'd like to see it grow a little bit faster. Now, I do have a life other than this. This is not my main work. Most of you know what I do on the side, and this is a hobby for me, so it's not my main work, so I don't have to have those subscriptions. But you know, it makes me feel appreciated to know that you are taking the videos and really enjoying them. So again, thank you so much for joining me. Hit that bell up at the top there, so anytime I have a new video coming out, you are one of the first ones to know about it. And again, share with your friends, because that's how we build the channel, is by sharing. And hopefully you do that because you like the content. Until then, we will see you on the next one, where we will start to put this guy together with the hardscape, and then we'll do a 3-part series. As I said, the 3rd part will be the plants. So thank you for joining me today. We will see you on the next one. Until then, we're out of here.